This video is to finish out our 6.3 notes, and that is looking at our f of g of x and h of g of x, all the compositions that we've been working on in class. Now it doesn't, on your paper it'll tell you what f is and what g is and what h is, it's just you can't see it on here. So we have, I'm going to put it in this place here, f of x is equal to x squared, g of x is equal to 5 minus x, and h of x is equal to 3x, just because you can't see it on my screen. Alright, so if I want to do f of x, that means I'm going to insert f of x back into itself. So that means I'm going to do the x squared into the x squared, so I get x to the 4th power. Okay. All right, and then I think we did this one in class, but we'll do it again. G of x means insert g into itself. So I have 5 minus g in place of x, so that's 5 minus 5 plus x, which leaves me with just x. Now, when I want to plug in a numerical value, okay, so this is, if I write it in the other format, that's f of g of 3. So I'm going to do order of operations, and that means do parentheses first. So I'm going to evaluate g of 3. G of 3 means I'm going to plug in 3 into g. So that means I want to do f of 2, and f of 2 is equal to 2 squared, which is 4. Let's change color. Alright, so now we're going to do h of f of negative 2. So again, if I do parentheses, that means I'm going to plug in negative 2 into f. So that's negative 2 quantities squared. So that's h of 4. H of 4 is 12. Alright, let's do g of 5. So if I plug in 5 into g, I'm going to get 0, and g of 0 is 5. Alright, so now let's do multiples. Alright, so I've got f of g of h of 2. So I'm going to start in the innermost and work my way out. So I need to do h of 2 first. So I've got f of g of h of 2 is 6. So now I've got to do f of, and then I plug in 6 for g, which gives me negative 1, and f of negative 1 quantity squared is 1. Alright, so now if I plug in, if I want to do g of f of h of g of negative 1. Alright, so if I plug in negative 1 to g, I get out 6. Okay, so if I plug in 6 to h, I get out 18. If I plug in 18 for f, 18 squared is 324. And g of 324 is negative 319. Okay, I want you to try j for yourself. Alright, so now we're going to look at some domains and ranges here. Okay, so we're going to do f of g of x, and I'm going to go up here. Okay, so I'm going to do f of g of x. So that means plug in g, insert g into f. So that's going to give me 2, and that's going to be 2x minus 5 to the negative first. And we remember negative powers means 1 over. So that's going to give me 2 over 2x minus 5. So my domain for this one, I know that the denominator of this cannot equal 0. So if I set 2x minus 5 equal to 0 and solve for x, x cannot equal 5 halves. So I've got all real numbers except 5 over 2. Alright, so let's look at g of h of x. That means we're going to insert h into g. So that's going to be 2 times x plus 3 over 2 minus 5. Alright, so these 2's are going to cancel, so that's going to give me x plus 3 minus 5, which is x minus 2. That has a domain. It doesn't matter what I plug in. It's all real numbers. Alright, I'd like you to try C. Okay, so if we set it up, we'll set it up together, and then I want you to do the domain. So that means I'm going to put h back into itself. So that's going to give me x plus 3 over 2 plus 3 all over 2, which looks a little scary, but if I find a common denominator for the top part, that's a 2, so it's going to be x plus 3 plus 6 over 2 over 2. So then I have x plus 9, and since this is 2 over 1, it can be over 2 times the reciprocal of 1/2. So I get x plus 9 over 4. Okay, so think about what your domain would be for that function.